Hello and welcome to today's webinar, Understanding Private and Hybrid Cloud for SAP. In this event, you'll learn how real customers are leveraging Nutanix and SAP. Today's event is brought to you by Nutanix and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is David Davis of Actual Tech Media, and I'm excited to be your moderator for today's event. Now, before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to today's presenters and do a little bit of housekeeping to let you know how this event is going to flow. Today's presenters are Mr. Greg White, Solutions Marketing Principal at Nutanix, and Krishna Kadumadam, Senior Director of Solutions and Performance Engineering at Nutanix. Now, we want this to be a very educational event, so we encourage you to ask questions using the GoToWebinar questions box. Krishna is standing by to answer those questions electronically, and we'll be doing a dedicated Q&A session at the end of today's event. We'll also be giving away a $300 Tango gift card to one lucky attendee on the live event. Full price terms and conditions can be found at events.actualtechmedia.com. I'm sorry if you're watching this event on demand, the drawing has already occurred. Now, I want to call your attention to the handout section that's available there in the GoToWebinar control panel as well. Make sure you check that section for some associated handouts related to today's material. You can download those directly from your console, check them out, share them with your friends and family, and also make sure you stay tuned for today's live demo that Krishna will be doing later in the event. And with that, let's get started with Understanding Private and Hybrid Cloud for SAP. Take it away, Greg.
All right, thanks so much, David. We're excited to be here. We're really looking forward to delving into private and hybrid cloud across SAP and providing some real-world use cases, these case studies. And you've got a surprise. This is billed as 2 case studies, but we're actually going to talk about 3. So already trying to help deliver more value to you who are attending. So let's kick it off and start talking about when it comes to the world of SAP and taking advantage of this, powerful software, there are really a couple areas of IT that are working with SAP, and that's the app owners and the developers on one side and the IT operations on the other side. And that's across SAP, whether it's on-prem, the SaaS offerings, and even other legacy and next-gen apps that are in that ecosystem that revolve around it. But there's a kind of a tension between these two. On the one side, the app developers want to be really fast. They want to have some of the capabilities that they see in the public cloud. But the IT teams, they're frustrated by this complexity that limits what they're able to do, how fast they're able to respond. And really, from a goals side of things, the app owner side's trying to be agile. They're trying to really take advantage of what the public cloud has brought as far as services that are available on demand, this fractional consumption, rapid time to market. But on the other side, the IT team's still trying to maintain some control and security, managing the costs and being efficient. And really, for both of them, they're trying to achieve this intelligent enterprise that's more agile and efficient and really focused on business outcomes. But this conflict has brought about kind of different ways of addressing this. And Krishna, you hear this all the time. What are some of the things you hear?
Great question, Greg. And I think my response to that is that the conflict is still ongoing. Lots of companies are trying to resolve this conflict. Infrastructure companies such as ours, such as Nutanix. And customers have tried to solve this in various ways. One way is to build their own complex 3-tier infrastructure-based private cloud, which results in creating SAP landscape silos, and they over-provision the hardware, with that results in low utilization and large capital expenditure. And they continue to use the manual processes and scripting methods that they're so used to. And in some cases, because of CIO and CEO pressure and the CFO pressure, they migrate everything over to the public cloud, any one of them, AWS, GCP, Azure. But the complexity of the migration is one thing. Obviously, after they get past that, the provisioning of the SAP landscapes and the silos as is, they move it over just as is without any kind of optimization that they need to do. And they get a great advantage of pay as you grow, but what lies underneath is the uncontrolled operational expenses, including networking and other things, which is never brought to the surface at the time of migration. And they continue to use the same manual processes and scripting and things like that. So they're not actually, benefiting from doing that. And as I mentioned earlier, the conflict continues on.
Right. And really their goal is to get this progression, right? They want to modernize their IT so that they can get that agility, but maintain that control. Then as they continue to mature and grow, be able to have now some automation and platform around that they can develop on and be more agile. And ultimately really being able to take advantage of the benefits of both these worlds of private and public and what that's like. And that ultimate goal, you see shaped out and kind of, through this idea of they start out with private and on-prem, and then maybe there are some things that get rolled up to the public cloud. But what we're increasingly seeing are there more clouds that you need to think about in this hybrid model, multi-cloud model. And that's this distributed cloud from endpoints and edge and all of that, new capabilities at smaller branch and remote sites, and where you're bringing insights closer to the customer, as well as SaaS clouds. And really their goal is to break down these barriers, remove these complexity silos, have that elastic consumption and make it all automated. And that's done really, we like to talk about it, and we hear customers talking about, they're trying to look for kind of a few key things. And we think about these four key areas, and we think about them kind of as layers in some way. There's the infrastructure side of things, there's the platform side of things, there's the reliability, the security, some of the services that are part of that, and then really wrapping all that all together from a simplified management umbrella across all of it. And you have different capabilities and services that lie within each of these layers, and that's what customers are telling us they're trying to get to. They want to be able to have support for containers on their platform and be able to pay as they grow and know that they're protected long term and they're not locked in to which cloud they want to run on, and they want to simplify how they're going to manage it so they can focus on their application. And so these key services that they're looking for are really kind of how that multi-cloud story gets filled out. And kind of how that's developed is this idea of hyperconverged infrastructure kind of changing the game for how to deliver these services. And so maybe you can talk a little bit more, Krishna, about what is HCI and what does that mean for this?
Absolutely. Thank you, Greg. HCI stands for hyperconverged infrastructure. It is a very unique method using software of consolidating compute, storage, and virtualization resources using commodity x86 servers. And as I mentioned, it's using software. So it's the bedrock or the foundation of the infrastructure at the service layer that you see at the bottom of that, the service layers, right? As we built that, as Nutanix is one of the main players in this particular industry, and we actually hold the market leading position here. We were able to build additional layers on top of it, such as data protection, virtualization, app automation, orchestration, multi-cloud management, and at the top of all that, the applications can be deployed without the data center operators or the administrators having to worry about the layers underneath it, because the HCI architecture is so simple to operate. And it remains invisible, underneath the covers, right? Pretty much like any of the public clouds would manifest itself, right? And in terms of, what I would, call HCI, I mean, replatforming IT, building a data center infrastructure with legacy architecture requires, the picture on the left, requires a customer or data center providers to partner with multiple vendors, SAN vendors, NAS vendors, and so on. And it takes multiple weeks and months to actually deploy and provision infrastructure, and it's difficult and time consuming. And you have multiple management consoles that would work, not in tandem. It has to be, coordinated, and you need specific skills to do all of that. And it's challenging in troubleshooting to diagnose poor performance issues and things like that. So that's the picture on the left, and it's not very conducive for building a cloud-like consumption model on top of it because of all these complexities that are lying underneath it. So Nutanix Enterprise Cloud Platform simplifies the design and the construction and deployment of IT infrastructure. It converges all IT resources, as I mentioned in the previous slide, into a single scale-out solution that can run any application, right? So a Nutanix-powered infrastructure can be deployed in less than 60 minutes, or even less than that. IT teams can start very small, and with just 3 servers, and you can increase capacity as you need. And scaling is 100% linear, and we test it within our engineering departments, and with workloads such as SAP running on top, and we guarantee the 100% linearity, right? And the entire software stack can be upgraded with a single click without disruption to a live environment, which is one of the tenets of the cloud. You can use the existing top-of-rack switches, so there's no additional investment in networking layers and things like that. And the compelling industry prediction here is that Gartner has publicly predicted that the number of workloads in a typical enterprise that will run on HCI solutions like Nutanix will grow from only 5% in 2017 to 20% by 2020. That's a 4x growth in just 3 years, which is incredible. Let's dive a little deeper into the HCI architecture itself. As you know, VMware has revolutionized the data center industry, many decades ago, almost a decade plus ago. It did so by aggregating all these servers that were, remaining in silos in different departments, and into a cohesive set of resources that, and the administrators only had to, manage the virtual machines that run their applications, and not necessarily the hardware underneath it, which was a great thing for about, many years. And, that, as I mentioned, it revolutionized the data center and the whole computing industry as a whole. But it did not go far enough as to address, all the layers of the technology stack or the infrastructure stack that needs to be addressed, such as storage. And looking at this particular picture, the top half is with the virtualization is what industry calls scale out. In other words, when resources are needed, you can add those resources without requiring additional management or operational overhead. The bottom half of the architecture is what industry calls scale up design. In other words, the infrastructure has scale limits, and after which you have to, upgrade or replace the entire, SAN array or NAS array, whatever that might be. And it involves, forklift upgrades and complexity involved in it. What we are going to be talking about is, and one of the reasons Nutanix has become very popular, become the most popular hyperconverged solution in the market is because of its distributed systems architecture, right? You can start small, increase capacity one node at a time, keep data local for maximum performance, mix node types and hardware generations. And as you saw in the picture that just got built up, that is, the entire storage layer got collapsed into the server, and the storage controller, which was indicated by the C1, C2, became what we call the controller virtual machine that runs on each of the hypervisor nodes. And the controller virtual machine has access to all of the local storage resources, the high-speed resources, storage resources such as flash, NVMe, and hard disk. And we have, the data locality built into it. So every application that runs in the virtual machine on that hypervisor gets access to the data that it needs locally, which is what, provides us the best performance for these applications, of running on Nutanix.
That also plays in too in the types of workloads that you can run, right? Do you run different workloads on their own separate clusters, or are you able to run them all together on the same?
Great question. That is the beauty of the Nutanix Enterprise Cloud Platform. We do not enforce or anything like that, or for customers running applications in separate silos. We tell them that there is a concept called mixed workload, so you can run every application that you have on the same infrastructure platform with the same management paradigm, so that you're not having to deal with multiple management infrastructure and control planes there. Yeah. Two of the fundamental requirements to replace proven IT infrastructure is the ability to provide all enterprise class storage features. and ensure the best overall security. And Nutanix Enterprise Cloud Platform routinely replaces all SAN and NAS storage solutions from all leading storage vendors, providing a rich set of enterprise storage class storage features. For maximum flexibility, Nutanix provides and delivers software-defined storage with the granularity of a single virtual machine. And you can see that pretty much all of the enterprise features that you're used to, such as snapshot and cloning, data tiering, compression, deduplication, and even replication for remote sites for DR purposes or providers out of the box from the platform. Additionally, Nutanix solutions are built with a secure by design methodology and include the richest set of security features available in the HCI industries today. And some of the notable ones are automated validation and self-healing, client authentication, data at rest encryption, and STIGs, which is Security Technical Implementation Guide built into it. So Greg, let me ask you, what are some of the details and the background and the facts that you would call it of SAP actually running on Nutanix?
Yeah, definitely. The great thing is, we've been spending some time talking about private cloud and really HCI is the foundation for that. You may wonder, oh, this is just all brand new, nobody's doing this. But what I'm hoping to convey here is that that's not the case. Nutanix was the first hyperconverged solution certified for NetWeaver, SAP NetWeaver, S4 HANA. We have over 135, I think it might be closer to 150 now, customers running, using us for using Nutanix for SAP. This is across, the whole breadth of landscapes that are out there, Business Suite, ERP, the relational databases, 2-tier, 3-tier, objects, Obj, and all of that as well, across all around the world, across a whole bunch of different industries. And that you can do this also on the built-in hypervisor that's really part of that Nutanix stack that Krishna talked about earlier. And so putting all of this together, it's proven to be capable of running these different types of SAP workloads and continuing to see more and more interest, especially with the recent HANA adoption. How now can people are really thinking about and putting in place ways to take advantage of HCI for HANA as well. And so that's kind of the exciting trend that SAP has been on in our partnership with Nutanix. So what I'm going to do is go into, like I said, we were going to spend some time on a few use cases here, real world examples, and give you a feel for what does this look like when a customer goes out and does it. And like I said, we spent a chunk of time on private cloud. We're going to also talk as we get into, after we go through some of these case studies, some of the other capabilities that really bring in that hybrid cloud piece. So how do I do dev test in public cloud and then deploy on-premise, things like that? How do I use the public cloud for DR and data protection, things like that? So more to come on that. What I wanted to do is spend a few minutes talking about this particular company. It's a large baking supplies company, and they had been running SAP physically with SQL as the backend database, and had really struggled trying to even just virtualize SQL. They were up for a hardware refresh. They were using that server SAN architecture Krishna showed earlier, the sort of traditional way that this has been done, over the last 10, 20 years, right? Up until really the last few, where hyperconverged has really started to really take hold and show that, prove this simplification story. And they were looking for that cloud-like experience on-prem, being more resilient. They could have better SLAs for the business. They're really focused on those business goals. And they were really seeking to have this agile, resilient, scalable platform that they didn't have to buy everything up front, that they could grow into for their ERP, their BW, their SCM, solution manager, all of that, on now virtualized SQL Server, on sort of their journey to HANA, right? They're moving one step at a time through this, and really to implement better disaster recovery. So they asked Nutanix for help, came in. Some of the interesting things in here are, the reporting was so fast that people thought that something was wrong. They had much better performance improvements, but one of the real key value points that they got was they had originally projected this to be a 6-month implementation because that's what they were used to when they did a hardware refresh in the past. They were able to do something they'd never done before, which was virtualize SQL Server. They were able to bring in Nutanix and do it all in half the time they'd originally projected, and they were able to then take that freed up time and do another project that in the year that they didn't think they were going to get to. So pretty amazing as far as that time to value that comes out. Just to kind of talk about what they were really looking to do, they had 6 rows of racks of hardware in their data center. When they moved to Nutanix, it went down to 2 rows. So just tremendous power, cooling, footprint savings there. And really, they're looking to move to this hybrid cloud model. So they've built their private cloud. They want to start bringing in the public cloud where it makes sense. They're going to be more agile, and they credit the work that we've been able to do together with them as a way to get to that point. So that's one example down. Krishna, I'm going to hand it off to you to get into the next couple ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Greg. I'm going to be talking about this, manufacturing company in EMEA, which is a $1.5 billion euro company. And when we began working with them, they had a whole bunch of different types of infrastructure that were running on SAN and local attached storage and so on. And it took us about a year and a half or two to actually consolidate pretty much every one of those workloads to our whole mixed workload approach there. And all the workloads that are running, and as listed in the box on the right, and VDI, MongoDB, SQL Server, BI, SharePoint, CRM, and DevOps type of workloads. And last but not least, they're actually running an SAP HANA POC on us at the moment. And the box on the left and basically kind of gives you an install base of exactly what's in there in their data center right now. They're still running about 80 nodes that are running on their own traditional SAN, but the remaining virtual machines are running and that are running these applications are on Nutanix. And some of the benefits are listed at the bottom there. Performance improvement, significant performance improvement, reduce infrastructure complexity, saving energy costs and saving rack space. And it's a central point for patch management, very easy to scale. All you need to do is add a node and you got your linear scale. And lifecycle handling is more easy, and one platform for all virtual server workloads. And just to give you a quick picture on how the before and after picture looked like for one of their mixed workload infrastructure. The picture on the left is what they were running on SAN, and which took up, 20-25 RU on the rack, but and you can see that entire thing was consolidated onto just 4 or 6 U's of rack space on the right-hand side. So they're pretty happy about this, and this is one of their parts, and there are multiple parts like this that have been consolidated down to a very small footprint. The one that we're working on, another customer that we're working on in the U.S. here, it's an agribusiness company. It's a multi-billion-dollar company, and what they were looking for us to do is to be able to consolidate all their applications that were running on using JD Edwards and other things on S4, SAP S4, running on HANA. And some of the benefits, some of the considerations that they use in deciding an infrastructure for the S4 initiative is basically much more flexible to handle unknowns of a new ERP solution because they don't have to worry about the infrastructure complexity. And 80% reduction in ongoing support labor, simpler automation and integration of infrastructure, and 30% reduction in server storage virtualization costs. And last but not least, significant reduction in HANA DB boot up time over their tailored data center deployment methodology, which is a big. I think there are large memory HANA systems there, and it takes a long time on traditional architectures to boot up. But on Nutanix, they were able to reduce the boot time significantly. And this is an architecture of basic, the landscape architecture of that customer, what their proposed, S4 implementation. As you can see, that the production HANA, non-production HANA, and S4 are running along with a bunch of applications on premises on a Nutanix cluster. But they're also connected to a bunch of other SaaS applications from SAP, so running on SAP Cloud Platform, as well as Ariba, Concur, and some of the other ones that are out there on other public clouds. So this is a true hybrid cloud kind of deployment that they were able to accomplish, using Nutanix. And some of the values that we bring to SAP, is basically time to value. So you can roll out upgrades and expansion faster and easier, and you could capture business opportunities by way of better agility, predictable and consistent performance, and it lets the customer focus on the apps and the business outcomes without having to deal with all of the complexities of troubleshooting infrastructure underneath it. So, Greg, what are some of the other benefits Nutanix offers to workloads other than SAP?
Yeah, I think we've hit on a few of these. This idea of linear growth as performance changes, being able to, because it's this common pool, just kind of scale as needed. You don't run into those traditional hard points where you've got to go upgrade to a new SAN deployment because you reach the maximum number of disk shelves. This, you just kind of keep adding nodes at a time. You talked about the simplicity of management from a one-click upgrade approach. There's also some other things that are in there from a simplified management and providing end user access so they can self-service, provision VMs, protect, that kind of thing. But one of the real big things that I really see play out a lot, and basis admins tell me they see the value in this as well, is this idea, all of my infrastructure can be viewed in one spot. I don't have to go talk to the SAN admin and then the server admin and then the networking team and all of this and get different reports that all look different and try and mesh them together to give me some insight to figure out what's going wrong with my application. I can go talk to the one person, the singular person that deals with all of the infrastructure on Nutanix, and then take this graphical interface and really get some insights and be a lot faster in my ability to respond to the business, as well as take that kind of same knowledge for troubleshooting and apply it to predicting out to the future. If I want to add, being able to look at that and say, if I add this module, am I going to have enough resources to be able to run it over time? If I add so many users, what's that going to do to my resources? So I can do capacity planning. The security piece you talked about, we maybe touched on the self-healing aspect. So when you have this pool of resources, if you lose a drive or a node, the Nutanix architecture is designed to quickly rebuild that in the background using all of the available nodes. So you have a really resilient infrastructure that removes that those limitations that you can often find from traditional ways of doing this. And I think we go from here into just talking about, that was the SAP values and the values we can bring to other workloads that run alongside SAP. We ask IDC to look at, talk to some of our customers and try and quantify what that value really means. And so this is what they came back with. They went and interviewed the customers and came back and told us that customers that switched to Nutanix were able to realize these benefits. And so they come across the business value side of things, so 60% lower TCO, 534% 5-year ROI, a 7-month payback, which is really a quick period to get that back. There's also operational and performance efficiencies, so lower infrastructure costs, better IT efficiency so they can focus on other things and not just maintaining all of this different infrastructure. Much better uptime, so you're going to have higher productivity. And finally, from a business and agility side of things, the big one I like to call out is these customers told IDC that because they moved to Nutanix, they were able to realize $10.6 million more revenue per year And so that's really powerful from a business business standpoint. From a MarketScape, I wanted to share the Magic Quadrant for hyperconverged infrastructure, which comes from Gartner, so you can see some of the other offerings that are out there. We're not the only ones that are doing it, but Gartner realizes where we are as far as our ability to execute and our completeness of vision, putting us up there in the leader quadrant, up there in the top right. And so you can go to Nutanix.com/Gartner and get this report if you'd like to read it. It has some good insights into it about all the vendors, so highly encourage that. And then lastly, one of the big values that we're able to bring is just a really strong support infrastructure. And so this spans across the globe. One of the great things is the customer satisfaction and net promoter scores that we get. So our customers tell us that they are getting the kind of service that really helps them out and really helps them solve problems and brings joy. So being able to have a 97% customer satisfaction rate and a plus 90 net promoter score, which is really unheard of in the IT industry, are just kind of additional examples of the customer focus and the value you can get from running SAP on Nutanix.
So the demo that I would like to show you is basically orchestrating an SAP HANA database deployment with Nutanix COM. Nutanix COM is our software that provides the multi-cloud management capability that runs on top. If you remember the layered approach, the layered solutions that we have on top of the hyperconverged, this is the multi-cloud part of it. And what we have done here is to create a blueprint. This is the terminology that we use inside of this software called Nutanix COM. This blueprint actually can go through the installation and configuration of a very complicated SAP HANA database, from very basic provisioning of a VM and installation of the application and so on and so forth. So I will play the video and I'll come back and describe a few things at the end of it, but maybe I will say a few things while the video is playing as well. So here we go. We're logging into the Nutanix console. We're going into the COM blueprint. And here's the blueprint that I was talking about that we have prepared. And we are launching the blueprint. We have to provide the name of the application that's being launched. And we hit the create button. And basically, COM goes out and deploys the entire virtual machine, and it does all of the remaining steps that are necessary to deploy the virtual machine, install HANA inside of the virtual machine, configure it to the requirements that are provided in the blueprint. And once it's all completed, you can log into the application, and you're actually seeing the HANA processes running. So it was a very, very simple and short demo of the power of the Nutanix platform that is running underneath it. That's it.
Thanks, Krishna. That was a great demo. I just wanted to put up a few of the ways that the people on the webinar that view it can, places they can go to learn more and go deeper with these solutions and see if it's the right fit for them. So Nutanix.com/SAP is the easy way to get to our website. Highly encourage, once you've kind of dug around in there, there are two great ways to get some hands-on feel. That's either taking a test drive, so it's the ability to do an online demo, and that's Nutanix.com/test-drive, or if you would like to get a meeting scheduled, info@Nutanix.com, or you can also send it to SAP@Nutanix.com, a request to have a meeting and get some more information. And of course, you can find us online in our community site and our blog and Twitter sites as well. But so lots of great resources out there. There's some papers from outside groups, as well as some deep technical information if you're ready to kind of dig into what are the best practices for running HANA on Nutanix hyperconverged. So with that, we want to thank you for spending this time with us, and believe that there's some actionable things that you can take back to really make your jobs easier, and think about how you're going to rethink that approach to working across clouds as you move your SAP infrastructure into the future. Anything else you want to add, Krishna?
I think that's it. Thank you. You summed it up quite well. Thank you.
All right, great presentation. I really enjoyed the live demo there that Krishna did. Now it's time for our Q&A session. If you have questions about running SAP on premises, if you have questions about Nutanix, now is the time to ask those questions. I'm going to go ahead and, before we do that, announce our prize winner. The prize winner for our $300 Tango gift card is going out to Sean Angus of Connecticut. Congratulations, Sean Angus of Connecticut. And I want to leave up the next step slide here with all the different resources while we do our Q&A. Krishna, are you there and ready for some questions?
Yep, I'm here.
Awesome, awesome. All right, let's see. First question that came in here, they're asking, what's the performance impact of virtualizing SAP HANA on HCI, on your Nutanix infrastructure?
We have undergone very stringent certification of our stack, our infrastructure stack, including our software with SAP. And we have to prove to them that there is no performance impact by virtualizing HANA databases on our infrastructure. And we have passed all those tests, with flying colors, I should say. Rest assured, customers should have no, concern, should not have any concerns in deploying HANA, and you can expect great performance from our infrastructure platform.
Okay, and can I run HANA along with other existing workloads, perhaps on the same cluster?
Yes, absolutely. There are a few things that you need to be aware of. We have a best practice guide that we can send your way to sort of look at those caveats, given that we are sort of in the very early stages of this HANA journey. So there are a few caveats that SAP has asked us to take into consideration. And beyond that, yes, absolutely, you can run pretty much other applications in the same cluster.
Excellent. Yeah, that's great. Let's see, a question came in here. Any hybrid case studies that you can share?
No, I do not have any hybrid case studies at the moment. But if I could take your information, we could correspond with you and give you what we have.
Okay, excellent. We'll do that. Let's see, another question here. How does this HCI certification compare to the current ways of running HANA with the appliance versus the TDI or the tailored data center integration approaches?
So it's a great question. We get that a lot. SAP had originally gone to market with HANA as an appliance model, where all you can do is run HANA on it, and infrastructure vendors are supposed to provide a very cookie-cut solution for that. And then they opened it up a little bit, and by saying you can actually mix and match different certified components and put together what's known as the tailored data center integration. What we are providing to the market is the best of both worlds. One of the challenges with appliances is that, as I mentioned, you can only run HANA on it, and if you run anything else, you're gonna run into support challenges. With TDI, the day zero, everything looks good, but eventually things will start to go sideways or even down from that standpoint in terms of performance and complexity and being able to manage it and all that. But within Nutanix, we provide the best of both worlds. You could have the performance and availability of an appliance because it's almost cookie cut, and at the same time you have the flexibility to run multiple applications, and the Nutanix platform underneath takes care of the various performance and availability needs of every one of these applications. So the short answer is that we are sort of a mix of both.
Good, very nice. All right, let's see, next question here. Can I run SAP HANA along with, let's see, we covered that one. Next one was, is snapshotting and cloning a separate license with Nutanix?
So our infrastructure software, Enterprise Cloud Platform software, has different tiers. Starting with the starter license, it goes up to the Pro and Ultimate and all of that. So, but snapshot and cloning is included as part of Prism Pro and above. Yeah.
Okay, nice. Let's see. Here's another question that just came in. We currently have Hitachi HCI and SAP and do deployment of VMs on VMware. Is Nutanix Calm available to get on top of VMware as a separate product?
Right now, we need our management software called Prism Central to be able to run Nutanix Calm, and that's only available on Nutanix platforms. The short answer, unfortunately, is no. But we can actually deploy VMs on a VMware infrastructure that's running elsewhere, but Calm has to run on a Nutanix platform.
Okay, good. Let's see, another question. Does Nutanix have deduplication and compression?
Yes, we do provide both.
Okay. And then what kind of network infrastructure do you recommend behind the Nutanix cluster? They're asking like 1 gig versus 10 gig.
A minimum of 10 gigabit network is what we need, and for management, 1 gig is fine. But for our cluster communication, other things, a 10 gig network is the minimum. But we can also support 25 and above.
Okay, nice. Let's see, another question here. If someone's is interested in getting started with Nutanix, maybe they don't have Nutanix at all today. For example, this person who mentioned, they're running SAP on Hitachi with vSphere. What do you recommend? What's the first step?
I think the easiest way to get hold of Nutanix is, given that it's an SAP conversation, is to send an email to sap@nutanix.com. Very easy thing to remember, and we will put you in touch with the right salespeople in that region.
Okay, excellent. Well, it looks like that's all the questions we've had. Really great presentation. Enjoyed seeing the demonstration as well. Thank you so much for being on the event today, Krishna.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone out there in our audience for joining today's event. I hope that you learned a lot, and I hope that you'll check out some of the resources here, the Nutanix test drive at nutanix.com/test drive. Also check out the Nutanix community, and feel free to reach out to Nutanix via email. I hope you enjoyed the event, and we'll see you on our next event happening almost every day. Have a great day. Bye-bye.